Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go. Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified. In the next 25 minutes, I'm going to ride you through today's newspaper, The Hindu, Delhi edition, and we shall take up the most important articles from the perspective of civil service examination. The articles that we shall discuss has been displayed on your screen and you know from where to find the timestamping. There is a news article on page number 1. Chinese build-up started in May. Government of India has announced yesterday that it has been 2 months since Chinese has been amassing troops and armaments along LAC. There is another news on page number 9. It's wait and watch on disengagement. This article describes the various conflict region along LAC and extent of aggression done by Chinese troops in those areas. This is something that we will see in detail. There is another article on page number 6, why China is being aggressive along LAC. In this article, the author gives the reason of Chinese aggression along LAC, which is not a sporadic event but a planned one where China is itching to take the global leadership position. The satellite images have revealed that China has set up massive defense positions in the Depsang Plain, in the Galwan Valley, and in the ridges or the so-called fingers of the Pangyong Lake. Let us try and understand this conflict that China is unnecessarily raking up. Before we proceed ahead, let's spend some time with the map so that we familiarize ourselves with the geography of the region. As Napoleon said, to know a nation's geography is to know its foreign policy. Let's begin from this point. This is the Pangyong Lake. If we zoom a little further, we see that this transboundary lake has 1/3 of its portion on the Indian side and 2/3 on the Chinese side. Although it's a salty water lake, so there is no conflict over the water resource of the lake. But the strategic importance of the lake is very high. One, the Chinese can use the water of the lake to enter into the Indian territory. And two, if you look at the terrain on the northern side of the lake, you see that these difficult terrains actually act as a natural boundary between India and China. Let's have a closer look at the terrain by switching to the satellite mode. You can see on the northern side of the lake, there are thin long ridges, also called as finger points, because they seem like finger, thin and long. There are 8 finger points in the region, all of them in our territory west of LAC, but 4 have been captured and are controlled by Chinese army. Recently, China has increased its activity around the 4th finger point. This is the border between India and China, but the LAC claimed by China actually passes through this point, claiming 4 eastern finger points. And you understand obviously why. If they claim this region as their territory, then these difficult terrains will make difficult for Indian army to patrol in the region. And secondly, you know that in the mountain warfare, whosoever command the height has the obvious leverage, the advantage in the war. So now you obviously understand why Chinese have been extending the LAC from this point after the 1962 war to beyond the first finger point. Some 230 kilometers from this point of Pangyong Lake is the Galwan Valley. Here, this region is the Galwan Valley. Let's zoom in this region and we understand that what's there in this region. This is the point where the Galwan River comes and meets the Shyok River of India. And this region is the Galwan Valley. Galwan Valley is on the eastern side of Ladakh. It's at the border of Ladakh and Askai Chin, but this region is well within Ladakh. This is also the region where brutal clash happened between Indian and Chinese army at the night of 15th June. And from 15th June to 22nd June, there were negotiations, dialogues, talks between the army commanders. But now we know that even during this period, Chinese were doing installations in this region. And recently, China has claimed the entire Galwan Valley as its territory. The reason, obviously, you can see from the terrain that this terrain, if they claim, again, they will get the advantage of height during the warfare. And that will also make it difficult for Indian army to do patrolling in the region. Some 85 kilometers from Galwan Valley is Depsang Plain. This is Depsang Plain. Here is the Galwan Valley. Deep Sang Plain is the only region along the LAC where tanks maneuvering is possible. As you can see from the map, this is a plain region, and this region was also the battlefield of 1962 war where tanks were used. This yellow line that you see on the map is Darbuk Shahyog Daulat Beg Oldie Road. This is a strategic road that India has constructed recently, and this run parallel very closely with the LAC, and LAC passes through the Deep Sang Plain. Recently, China has claimed the entire Deep Sang Plain as its territory, and that has rang alarm bell because that will intrude into India's territory, and that will be very close, covering up the Darbuk Shahyog DBO road. Deep Sang Plain is also very close to Karakoram Pass. If we go a little north, here is the Karakoram Pass. This pass, cutting through the mountain ridges, this is Karakoram Pass. The problem is if Chinese occupied the Deep Sang Plain, that is very close to Siachen Glacier. Siachen Glacier is somewhere here. Let me zoom in and show you. This is Siachen Glacier. Siachen Glacier is very nearby to Deep Sang Plain. And if they occupy this region, then we will be battling with Chinese on this front and Pakistanis on the left front, because the Saltoro Ridge is not too far away from here. And this has been the bone of contention many a times between India and Pakistan. There's a place called as Raki Nala, somewhere here, which is just 30 kilometers south of Daulat Beg Oldie. And recently, Chinese army has intruded into Raki Nala as well. Situation is becoming grim. And looking at this, the problem you see is that China is trying to occupy the ridges and the plain region. And that should be the cause of extreme worry for India, because that will not only violate the sovereignty of India, but that will also bring Chinese very close to the strategic point on the western side, like the Siachen Glacier and the Saltoro Ridge. Let's summarize. This is Pangyong Lake. LAC has been shown here by red line. It cuts the lake in the ratio of 1:2, one-third being on the Indian side. But Chinese have been shifting their perceived line of actual control westward ever since the Indo-Chinese War of 1962. And the present line of control, which they believe to be the border between India and China, has been shown by the bold blue line. The region around Pangyong Lake is referred to by 8 fingers. Finger 4 cuts through the Chinese perceived LAC. But our claim is of all the 8 fingers. Towards the west of finger 4 there is Indian post, and immediately towards east there is Chinese post. Recent satellite images have shown massive buildup of defensive positions by China between finger 4 and finger 8, including the ridge line of finger 4. All these fingers are actually ridges. And the ridge line of finger 4 is a strategic position because it is overlooking on the Indian side. Actually, right till the finger 8, it is Indian side. But presently, finger 1, 2, 3 and 4 are controlled by Indian army, and 5, 6, 7, 8 has been occupied by Chinese army. But lately it has become difficult for Indian army to cross the western side of finger 4, the ridge 4, because of overt presence of Chinese army. Around 280 km from Pangyong Lake, there is Galwan Valley. Here, Galwan Valley was the site of brutal clash between Indian and Chinese army on the night of 15-16 June, and recent satellite images and reports have indicated that Chinese have built observation posts and also structures reinforcing its position in the clash site. Around 85 km upward of Galwan Valley is Deep Sang Plain. There are fresh reports of Chinese ingress into this area, and this has threatened India's strategic infrastructure. In the plain towards the north, there is Darbuk Shayok DBO Road. This has been shown larger than actually its actual size, but just for the sake of clarity. Very close towards the north of the DBA road, there is Karakoram Pass, and just 30 km towards south, there is Raki Nala. Raki Nala is one of the prominent patrolling sites for Indian Army, and recently that too has been ingressed by Chinese Army. Towards the west of Deep Sang Plain, there are strategic points like Siachen Glacier and Saltoro Ridge. If we look in the plane map, things will look like this. This is the LAC, the actual line of control. But Chinese have been shifting LAC westward, and this is the rough location of Chinese perceived LAC. This is the position of Galwan Valley. This is the position of Deepsang Plain. Then towards the north, we have Darbuk Shayok DBO Road, north of which lies Karakoram Pass, and towards the western side, we have Siachen Glacier and Saltoro Ridge. In the lead article of page number 6, the author inquires into the worst border conflict between India and China in last 2 decades. The author tries to find out the reason for this development. Because India has never provoked China. Forget about ceasefire violation. India has been very considerate of sensitivities of China. India has given very mild, veiled criticism of China. For instance, in the joint statement with US or other Asia Pacific nation, India has asserted its commitment to freedom of navigation, in obvious reference to China's claim over South China Sea. But India has stayed away from criticizing China on controversial topics like the crackdown of protest in Hong Kong, the de-radicalization camps in Xinjiang, or China's dispute with Taiwan. Yet China chose to increase its tension along LAC. The question is why? One popular answer to this question is China is doing this as a reaction to steps taken by India recently. For instance, development of infrastructure along LAC, for example, DBO Road, or India's decision of 5th of August of reorganizing the state of Jammu and Kashmir and converting it into union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. But the author does not buy into this argument. And the author is of the opinion that this is not just a knee-jerk reaction. That China's stand is not the reaction to India's action. Rather, it is evolution of China's foreign policy. China is an ambitious rising power which wants to reorient the global order. For too long, China was developing, but it was deliberately keeping itself invisible. In the initial phase of Chinese development, China adopted certain strategies like hide your capacity and bide your time. This was given by Deng Xiaoping. Before Deng Xiaoping, China used to criticize US and USSR on ideological ground. But with the adoption of this strategy of hide your capacity and bide your time, China went invisible. China was never involved in the regional conflicts directly unless there was interest of China involved, for example, in case of Taiwan. China also adopted the strategy of peaceful rise under the leadership of Hu Jiantao. This term suggests that China will not be involved in unnecessary international conflict. Basically, this was the strategy adopted by China to allay the fear from the region that China is any threat, as US was trying to project it. And this was also the strategy by China to stop itself from getting encircled by US by deep bilateral relationship of US with Japan, with South Korea, with Australia, with India, and so on. Later, the term peaceful rise was changed to peaceful development, and soon it was dropped altogether. But this era of development of China is now over. And under President Xi Jinping, the China thinks that they have arrived. They have arrived at the world stage to take over as a superpower and steer a new global order. Then China followed a strategy called in game theory as salami tactics. In salami tactics, a dominant power attempts to establish its hegemony piece by piece. For instance, China has swayed a little Bangladesh away from India. China has swayed a lot Sri Lanka. China has swayed almost completely Nepal. China is developing its footprint in Afghanistan. China already has developed deep roots in Africa. And in the process of winning the state slice by slice, China saw India as another state to be won over. Now China does not see India as a swing state anymore. China sees India as a strong ally of the West, especially US, and China sees India as a counterweight being placed by the West against itself. In this context, it can be said that China is sending a message that it cannot be deterred by any counterweight. This is a message they are trying to send not only to India, but any other regional strategic group developed against China. China was itching already before the COVID-19 pandemic to take the center stage. As the global economy was going into the doldrums, Globalization was in crisis. US was being taken under isolationist policy by the president, and India and other regional power also started to see an economic downturn. But in the post COVID 19 scenario, Europe is devastated. Dealing with the virus, US is battling in an election year with COVID 19. There is deep economic meltdown since Great Depression all over the world. And now China sees this as an opportunity, as the window in which it must rise. And this is evident in the steps and actions of China. For instance, China is not bothered by the rising tension with the US. China feels threatened with Taiwan and has taken many steps to tighten its hold over Taiwan. There has been severe crackdown on the democratic rights of people of Hong Kong, on processions, on protest, and recently China also has planned to come up with new security law for Hong Kong, where one of the provision would be that you cannot even criticize the government of China. There has been repeated naval incidents in South China Sea. It is in this continuity that one should perceive the raking up of conflict and tension by China along LAC. This means that it will happen no matter what, and India must up its guard against any evil plan of China along line of actual control. There is a news on page number 1. Industry flags delay in China imports. See, in response to the Indo-China border dispute, government has come up with a number of strategies to boycott Chinese goods and promote domestic manufacturing. Some of these strategies include Vocal for Local campaign, increasing the tariff on Chinese goods, making it mandatory for the seller to mention the country of origin on government e-marketplace. Now, taking it forward, the custom authorities in India have decided to carry out 100% checks of import consignments coming from China at various ports in India. And this, of course, is a non-tariff barrier. But such a move by the custom authorities have in turn led to delays and hence an adverse impact on domestic manufacturing. For example, the electronics and pharmaceutical industry, which procure bulk of their raw materials from China, have been adversely affected. And this is understandable considering the fact for these industries there are no cheap alternative to Chinese imported goods. At the same time, exporters have raised concern that Chinese government may take tit-for-tat action, leading to delay in custom clearance of Indian goods in China and hence adverse impact on India's export. This issue must be covered under larger dimensions. There are two important aspects here and both of them have been already covered. On 10th June, I covered with you Vocal for Local. And on 19th June, Vaibhav sir discussed with you whether economic boycott of China is a viable option for India. Both of them are important topics for economy. Prepare a good short notes for them. There is a news on page number 7. Can online learning replace the school classroom? See, COVID-19 outbreak has disrupted the academic year. And today in the newspaper, you must also have read that the CBSE and ICSE board exam has been cancelled. And there has been cancellation of classes across grades. To ensure that students do not miss on their studies, schools obviously have moved classes online, forcing students to attend lecture via their gadgets. This has also sparked a debate on whether the increased amount of screen time helps students to learn or it impedes their progress. It's important for you to note that Maharashtra has banned online classes from pre-primary to class 2. Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh has extended this ban till class 5. Education has been constantly an important theme in essay paper. And since after COVID-19, the focus has been online education, which we are really good at giving, the focus of UPSC will also shift towards it. So this is a topic on which you should have an opinion and enough fodder material for the essay. Let's play pros and cons for online education. Many educationists has raised major concern against online education. Screen learning creates negative health impact. The radiation coming out of the screen has negative effect on vision of children and it has long-term impact on the health. Also, screen learning is actually passive learning, which you yourself must have observed sometime. When you're not taking notes, you might not be very effective. When the physical presence of teacher is gone, the motivation from the body language is gone. The attention span in this kind of passive learning is also very less, and all these impact the critical thinking ability of children. There is one serious drawback of screen learning. Online learning means you sit at home in an isolated environment and you try to study, you try to learn. So you are away from friends and peers, you are away from teachers. School is not just a place of academic study. School actually is a basic institution of socialization. It is where the child picks up morality and learn ethics. There are many observational learning in the school. For instance, we at IIT used to observe the professors, the simpleton life that they used to live. Many of them used to come on bicycle. Their dressing, their office setup, all of that was so simple yet beautiful. The opportunity cost, if you see from this perspective, of not going to school and colleges as learning institutions will be very high. There is also an administrative question. Our school system is in complete shamble. There are poor infrastructure because of absence of toilet. Many girl child drop out of school. There is poor pupil teacher ratio. The school curriculum needs to be updated. The examination system needs to be improved. School management needs an upgradation. But if there is more focus on online learning, then school administration will be neglected. And we will fail to improve our classrooms. It is said that classroom is the place where future of nation is developed. There is also an issue of digital divide. Children in the government school or children from the vulnerable section from poor family, they do not have access to gadget or internet. Only 52% of Indians have internet access. India ranked 47 in the overall inclusive internet index 2019. That means internet is also not equally available to both male and female. Even in well-to-do family, there might not be spare gadget, computer or mobile maybe, because parents might be doing work from home, and that will hamper the online learning of children unless you buy more gadgets and provide a dedicated gadget, laptop or mobile to children. But on the flip side, the argument is that screen time is already very high for children. They are spending time with television, laptops, computer, mobile. So online education will actually be aiming at making the best use of already high screen time of children. And as far as having passive learning and lack of socialization is concerned, online education can be designed in such a way that apart from theoretical discussion, there are also assignments on physical education, yoga, arts, and they are also evaluated. Then to a certain extent, these two concerns will be taken care of. Also, in early childhood, a child's brain develops every day. So there is no question of any hindrance in education of children. In the time of lockdown, online education must continue. However, these are important concerns. Our school education must improve and inequality must not grow. Digital India, digital technology should not be the source of digital divide. In this regard, learning gadgets can be made available to children. Smartphone, after all, is not a luxury good anymore. And with help of subsidy from the government, this can be done. But nothing can replace classroom education with physical presence of teacher. We must try our best and think as to how and when our school system will reopen, in what form. This interview article has given an idea that school might run initially with 50% strength, half of the children coming alternatively. Improved infrastructure with availability of tissue papers, sanitizers, soap and water, temperature check of teachers, students and non-teaching staff should be made mandatory. Social distancing should be followed strictly by students and teachers. The only way we can come above the economic, social and strategic challenge is through utilizing our demographic dividend. And the only way we can use demographic dividend is through education. There is a news on page number 7. India reiterates cultural linkages with Nepal. The issue is that Nepal Communist Party has decided to give support to a constitutional amendment bill. The bill seeks to bring a waiting period of 7 years for a foreign born woman marrying a Nepalese man before she could get citizenship in Nepal. The present rule is a foreign born woman can immediately get Nepali citizenship on marrying a Nepalese man if she willingly renounces her previous citizenship. The move is obviously going to affect many families in India because India has close civilizational and cultural linkages with Nepal, and there is deep rooted familial bonds, matrimonial relations among people of Nepal and citizens of India, especially from Bihar and UP. The main opposition party of Nepal, Nepali Congress, has opposed this move and wanted the status quo in this regard in the citizenship rules. However, to be fair on their part, I must highlight three things. First, it is for any foreign born woman. This is not targeted towards India, although the matrimonial relationship is predominantly with India. Secondly, the parliamentary committee which discussed and gave recommendation on the issue proposed to issue a national identity card to such women after marriage so that they are not deprived of social, economic, and cultural rights until they are able to obtain Nepali citizenship. Further, Section 51C of Indian Citizenship Act has similar provision. It says that a foreigner who is married to an Indian citizen can apply for Indian citizenship after living in India for 7 years. So a similar rule in Indian Citizenship Act also exists. So there is nothing to complain about. That is why Indian government has not raised this issue at any forum. But if you look at the statement of Deputy Chief of Foreign Affairs Department of Nepalese Communist Party, you would understand where it is coming from and where it is going. He described the roti beti relationship between India and Nepal as old rhetoric. He says we should reset our relationship based on our mutual benefit. Nepal and India have changed. Our aspirations have changed. We should put forward some bold steps in our relationship. In the DNS dated 17th of June 2020, I discussed with you in detail the changing aspiration and the evolving society of Nepal. There we discussed previously we used to export leadership to Nepal and now they are exporting skilled software engineers to India. Although Nepal still is a poor country, but there has been huge growth in the middle class of Nepal. The aspiration of the nation has grown. They want an amendment in India-Nepal Friendship Treaty. They want relationship on new terms. There has been growing feeling of nationalism in the nation, which is generally the consequence of growth of middle class. India obviously understands these things, and hence we must recalibrate our relationship with Nepal. There are four news in the newspaper to be covered from prelims perspective. Not much of analysis is required, but some information will be important for the prelims exam. So we will cover this through questions in the DNS quiz. In the solution, I'll provide you with short notes on them. And let's learn the important fact concerning these news through the questions in the quiz. So with this, we have come to the end of the discussion. Now we will take up question for the day. Yesterday's question of the day was easy. Both World Economic Outlook and Global Financial Stability Report are released by IMF. The answer would be option C. The question for today is arrange the following from north to south. Deepsang Plain, Pangyong Lake and Daulat Beg Oldie Post. With this we have come to the end of the video, but I would encourage you to go and solve the DNS quiz now because lots of learning you can do from there as well.